pray with me, please? Dear Heavenly Father, we just ask that you be with us today as we come before the people of Wichita County and make decisions that affect their lives, Father. Be with us, guide and direct us. Father, we'd ask that you be with those that serve to protect our freedoms around the world, Father, and just guide and direct them. Keep your hand on them and keep them safe, Father, so that we can continue to know freedom as we do. Our county family, Father, that's in harm's way to protect the citizens of this county, be with each and every one of them. Keep them from harm's way, we pray. Father, we just thank you for our many, many blessings that you bestow on us each and every day. Father, we ask that you forgive us of our sins and where we fall short. All of these things we ask in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, sir. Join me in the pledge, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I am wrong. I was trying to check the flag.
I protect the flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, thanks. Take a seat, please.
Put them together, wouldn't
it? Wouldn't be the first time we have an introduction I'd like to make. We have our new Wichita County Game Warden, Dylan Conley, with us. Dylan, glad to have you. He's a Harold from Abilene, Texas, and Texas Tech graduate. Managed to find a young lady out there that liked him enough to have him. They have a 2-year-old, and Dylan, we're glad to have you in the area. I think you got a chance to meet most of the commissioners this morning.
Yes, sir. I think he's planning on moving to Burke.
Only as a last resort.
Don't let them tell you.
Dylan, home is Abilene?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, sir. So, but this is our new home. We plan on making roots. We hope to be here for 20 plus years. So
great. Good to have you. We can help you with anything. You let us know and keep us posted. We'll be glad to.
Will do. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dylan.
Now, you're welcome to save the whole meetings. They're really entertaining, or you can change whichever one you think is going to be more fun. So
I'll leave this to you all.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for coming by, Dylan.
Have you got a cure for wild hogs?
It's called a bullet. Tends to work.
We need a bunch of that. Need a bunch of them. Thank you.
Take care.
Okay. I've got to ask the court to look at the consent agenda. Do we have any items on there? Have any questions or anything to resolve on that?
Got some discussion on item number 7.
Okay. What about
on this air conditioner that we bought? We got it extremely cheap. It's brand new in a box, but it increased our electrical
installation costs.
The installation costs going up $3,000.
So part of the bargain went away then?
Part of the bargain did, but not all of it.
No, not all.
The reason is they have to buy a step-down transformer. So there you go. Just want you to know that.
A step-down transformer from what voltage to what voltage?
480 to 230.
220.
For Lee, wouldn't that have been true of any unit you put in there? I mean,
no, if it was a 480 unit,
okay.
3-phase.
All right.
So we couldn't find one.
One of those would be one way, and one the other.
What is
both
this,
be the same.
If it's not 483 phase,
it's 230. It's 233 phase.
Oh, okay.
So we can. That's what that's for. There is that. No, that's
the amount of
that's going to happen on the estimate that we accepted.
Yes, from Groves Electric.
Groves Electric. Okay. Anything else on the consent agenda?
Do we need to put that on the agenda?
Well, when you get that.
Okay.
It wouldn't hurt. You don't have to. But it's
just want everybody to be aware.
It's going to exceed that, but I'd wait and get the final thing from him because he said that was an estimate of that cost. When we get the final cost on the whole project, then put that back in.
Well, you remember the breakers that he said?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's going to be included in that also.
Yeah. So I'd put that all in together.
Okay.
Judge, I'd make the motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second, Judge.
Motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Waller to accept the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. All right, item number 1 is review and approve the regular bills for payment.
I'll make a motion, we pay our regular
Hang on,
bills.
hang on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Any questions by anyone in the audience on the bills or any member of the court? Okay, now.
I'll make a motion, we pay our bills. We went through them Friday. And, we're ready to pay them.
All right.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Harvey, second by Commissioner Beecham to pay regular bills. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. Item 2 is discuss, consider, take action, to authorize the IT department to purchase the following items. Do I see anyone? No, there's actually. All right, right beside her. Okay.
Get your check.
She was dead in line from me. There, thank you, sir. Yeah.
Actually,
I
we
couldn't, yeah. Okay, discuss, consider, take action, authorize the IT department to purchase policy item at Topaz Signature Gym 385.98. Is that for left or right hand?
Both.
Both. Okay.
What is that?
It's just a Topaz signature pad.
Oh, signature pad, okay.
Yeah.
We're not buying anybody
No.
fancy jewelry.
Ash, on that signature deal, the inspector that came, that Lisa passed so glowingly, his form was an Excel spreadsheet that had the signature capability on the spreadsheet. Do we have that version here where a person can sign a spreadsheet that's formatted that way?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
Sure, it's supposed to be front.
All these items are products that we're going to need for Tyler Odyssey. I'm basically getting everything that we would need, and we're going to set up a test station so that way we can check all the peripherals and make sure everything works. So that's why you see 2 variations of a receipt printer. One will endorse checks, and then the other one is just the cheaper one is just a standard thermal receipt printer. So, like I said, I just wanted to cover all of our bases for peripherals. That way we can check each one to make sure everything's going to work right. The more expensive Topaz GymView is a new product. It is actually a tablet, a Topaz tablet. We are running through some new business process for magistration, and in one of those, if an inmate has an emergency protective order or an interlock agreement that's done to them by the judge, they're required to review their paperwork before they sign. So this tablet actually lets them see the paperwork. They can hold it in their hand, review, scroll up, read the document, and then actually sign it with a pen, and all that would go into Odyssey.
There's going to be a new form we may adopt using, it's being offered to us by the Office of Court Administration. They have to check off the boxes on the mental health portion of that. Will that be able to be done on there?
Yes.
Is there requirements when a person does sign, can they receive a receipt via email?
So Vanessa and Sam have been working on some really great processes. The plan is when they sign that electronically, when it goes back to whoever office is going to be doing this, they're going to print out their copy of their agreement, and then that'll be entered into property when they go into Tyler Odyssey. It has a great list of all the inmates' property. They're actually going to log that in as their property. Then when the inmate leaves and they actually sign for their property, they will be signing saying that they received a copy of their interlock agreement or anything like that, and it will be included, printed out in their property.
Other questions, comments? Anyone in the audience? No further questions, could we have a motion then?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Watts to approve the items as requested. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. Thank you, ma'am. Item 3 is discuss and consider take action to approve the Microsoft quote USO 5082018BS07 in the amount of $3,998 for Microsoft Surface Studio, 2-year Microsoft Commercial Complete for Business for the 30th District Court, for Odyssey to be paid from 403 Tyler, Fund 403 for Tyler Technology Software Acquisition budget established by the County Auditor. Possession.
This is something I'm trying out. In the past, we've had some problems with getting a computer on the district court benches just because there's not any room. I've tried different mounts, we've tried all-in-ones, and with Tyler coming up, they need the ability to have a touchscreen to do their Judges Edition, and this is a Microsoft Surface product, so not only is it touchscreen, but it also has a pen that would allow them to actually write, make notes, and sign. It also is very slim and allows the device to be completely pulled up or laid completely flat, and they can write on it like a piece of paper. So I wanted to get one to try with all the peripherals that we're going to have with Odyssey, and then I wanted to put it on a bench for Judge Brotherton to let him give it a dry run and make sure that he can lay it down and still see the court before we move forward with any of those. If they do like them, they currently have some all-in-ones, and I will be pulling those all-in-ones out of service and put down in the jail for the police officers to use when they have to input their probable cause. So they are going to be moved into a different location.
Is that a larger screen than like your newer Surface?
Yes, it's actually a 23-inch screen, which they really need because they're going to, I mean, everything's electronic now, so they're going to be reviewing multiple documents and they need to be able to, you know, have the room to see, and then the touchscreen allows them, just like for me, you know, you can zoom in and zoom out, and the pen is going to be really great because their Judges Edition allows them to make notes. They can highlight things, make their own notes, and it'll allow them to save it, and they get to do that with a pen. So. And I did ask Judge Brotherton if he could be my guinea pig, and he agreed.
So it'll be like a 23-inch square?
all it is the monitor. The computer itself is like a small little box, and the stand holds up from it, and all you adjust is the screen. And it's the same size as my thickness as my screen.
Okay, that'll be interesting.
Any other comments or questions?
So there's no functionality of a laptop here at all. I just don't want to forget if Judge Gossam has to change or is able to go to that, we want to pass his Surface to.
Right. This particular one is not, it's not movable.
Okay.
I mean, it's lightweight. I can pick it up and carry it, but it's not anything that you would want to move around otherwise.
Gotcha.
This would be a permanent fixture.
No. Title's kind of misleading, gives you to think on kind of.
Yeah.
I'd make the motion we move forward with this.
Second.
Okay. Any comments, questions, anyone in the audience? Okay. All in favor of the motion by Commissioner Watts, seconded by Commissioner Beecham, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Item 4 is discuss, consider, take action, advertise for bids for 10 cubic yard single axle dump truck for precinct 1. Commissioner Beecham.
Yes, Judge, we're currently completing our specifications for this truck and should have it ready to go before the end of the week and have it posted for bids. That would be to bid that single axle dump truck and also pay for it with a $55,000 down and from our current capital budget and finance the rest for the remainder of 5 years.
Did you want, I heard Commissioner Watts say something to you about maybe adding to this, going and soliciting for financing options?
Yes, I would like to work with our treasurer's office to make that happen as well. So.
What Mark found on the Surface was that there was some considerable difference in looking at these trucks out there, and which is hard for me to get my arms around on my board as to what actually is the price we.
Yeah, they're all over the board. It's just, buy board's probably a pretty good name. You can throw a dart at it and
Buy whatever you want.
And not necessarily have the best price.
Right.
Sheriff Duke, you sent me something over the weekend on patrol cars where you thought you found a better deal.
Right, Chief Jones at the Memorial Wichita PD, but yeah, there's another, one of those type of, buy board things that we're looking at trying to sign so we can, it's better pricing actually. I'll get it up, make sure we get it up here.
And I asked Willie to look at that, find out what we need to do, if that's one we're gonna select, but we also wanna look at some of these others, because it's amazing the difference in the same truck under buy board as opposed to why we're gonna go out for bid. 'Cause-
Right. Well, you know, it's getting a little more competitive now, it seems like, as well, so.
Yes, sir.
Whereas before you had one shop,
Well,
one place to stop.
The one in Caldwell was-
And yours is not as difficult, but like what Mark can run up against, for one thing, getting a bid, which is what we received last time, but they wanted to deliver that truck probably in the month of November. Well, you know, we want to understand if there's any inventory out there that they have to pull from.
Purchase it, get it out. You haul sand in it, I guess. The road.
yeah.
Chad?
All right, let's get back to that. Thank you. Is there a motion and a revision? Let me ask this, you,
Yeah,
and
we're fine.
solicit finance options would be.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is that-
Second.
Okay. All right, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried 5-0. Item 5, discuss, consider, take action to approve submitted proposals for carpeting in the courthouse elevators with costs to be paid from 100.510.4452 repairs and maintenance to a line determined by the county auditor, Commissioner Beecham.
Yes, sir. I had two bids, one from Brugger and one from Texas Carpet Outlet on the exact same carpet. There was a question originally if the carpet was the same. It has to meet fire code because it's in an elevator. We have a quote from Briggle for the job cost of $1,300 for both elevators, and a quote from Texas Carpet Outlet for $1,705.53. It would be my recommendation that we accept the Briggle quote for $1,300.
Second.
The Briggle quote was how much?
$1,300.
1,300 even.
1,300 even, okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Watts to approve Briggle's quote of $1,300 for reparking the elevators. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried 5-0. Item 6 is discuss, consider take action to approve a proposal from Santa Rosa Construction at a cost, and Commissioner Watts, I got an updated cost from the architects of changing that $1,279.26 to $2,512.88 for an archway above the west end of the existing lobby on the second floor, and to be paid from contingencies from project number 16800 DA Civil Division remodel, but which close to it, so.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and the reason that this changed is that we had our punch list Thursday evening, and in that punch list we realized, excuse me, that the east or west end doors over here, that concrete in front of them, well, at the east end, we were actually going to grind, stain, and polish that. We did not have a price leader do the other side. Now, we did.
We don't need to.
Okay.
Yeah, we do.
No, we don't.
If the floor just ends and you got raw cement, right, you tore up the tile.
Nobody uses those doors at all.
Well, I know, if you want to finish the hallway, you just got an
I'm
old.
talking about inside the building.
Inside the
building.
Inside the building.
I thought you were talking about outside.
No,
No,
So
just.
this is just inside the
Like
doors.
Lee-
Don't even go there, that replaced twice.
Yeah.
I know.
Sure, it got rained on and something, was something there and they had to pull it up.
Yeah, I remember now.
Well,
It used to be a set of,
Yes.
well, long ago.
You're talking about inside the building.
Yeah, inside the building, the marble planks stop, and then you have just raw concrete there, and you have that at the other end as well. Anyway, so we looked at that, and then also we had already approved painting the entire corridor, or lobby corridor, whatever you want to call it. But we were going to wait and see about painting down the stairwell, so down the first floor. And so we decided at that time that, yeah, we want to go ahead and get a price for that. Well, the price of doing the concrete, grinding, staining, polishing that interior concrete there, and painting zeroed out what was left in the contingency fund. So that's why we were changing. When I had originally typed this up and gave that to Nancy, we had a remaining balance in contingency. So all this is just, we've zeroed out contingency now, and that entire archway is going to cost $2,512.88 to do that above the west extension.
But we already approved the small one.
We already approved the small one above the doors, like what we did at the east end, and painting that entire thing. That's correct.
But it just uniforms it in relation to...
Yeah, it somewhat mirrors what you've got going on at the double doors going into the new grand jury and civil area.
Somewhat modernizes it, you know.
Yeah, just a little bit.
If you look at those doorways without the arches, you can easily see them now both, and they're daylight and dark.
And that's a wide hallway. It's not as wide as the southern portion. That's a 12-foot.
So the new number is
$2,512.88.
Okay. And that zeroed out the contingency?
No, prior to that zeroed out the contingency.
So that's why we're adding that on top.
We're adding that on top.
Area to do.
Yeah.
But now, Matt will do the, I call that a little trickier plaster job. There's some fix-up that happens before the painting.
That's correct.
You
Yeah.
know, it's
Well, Bobby, Santa Rosa will come in. They'll remove the wall hangings, things that are on the wall down that main lobby, and you know, there's more to this than just the gypboard arch, because they've got to remove part of the ceiling. You actually have a ceiling, a light fixture that's in the way, plus some IT equipment, and there's a camera. There's all kinds of things kind of happening right at that junction. So this is actually a pretty good price to take care of all that and do this archway.
And Matt, I spoke with Bob, on, I guess it was after we met, and he was going to coordinate today to bring some of that stuff in, so we can sort it, get the grand jury.
Meredith was working on Friday. She, I think, got the construction key from Penalou, and then was working on some stuff there. So.
I told him if anything was in question to put it in the lobby there so we can sort.
Coordinate that today.
But all of the cabinetry, we're not going to use any of the top art in anything.
No, they had already had in there to not use it because it was just going to be too hard to modify to get it in there. So it's yours. Just like some of the woodwork that we decided we were not going to do. We kind of had prices to do it. We're going to do the extra woodwork in the grand jury room, and then decided it was going to be a bit much. So they already had furnished it, and so it's yours. You guys can use that hardwood trim elsewhere.
In that ugly color.
In the color that was chosen by the.
In that ugly color that was chosen by the. I don't have a strong opinion about that.
No, I don't think anybody has an opinion.
Okay.
But if y'all haven't saw the rooms after y'all were correct, it made all the difference in the world, and to paint those other rooms that we had not done, I was going to forego that, but now that they were empty, they were quick to walk through.
Well, now that we see what happened in the corridor on the east end, when they were kind of holding off on doing everything out in the lobby and down this side of the building until we knew what all that was going to be, that entire scope. So they'll get started here this week on that.
And Matt comes in, he pulls a mirror out of his pocket, this big square, and puts it on top of the trim of the doorways to see if they cut in that paint correctly.
Yeah. But it's not finished. I mean, it's not complete if they haven't done all that.
But Bobby, if he was taller, he wouldn't need that.
You can give me a piggyback.
Is that a trick from the master?
It is. But Meredith wondered if I was going to be picky enough, and I said, well, we'll just have to see. And that's the first thing I put out of my pocket and looked above the door frame. And
was it on a little rod?
No.
But with,
No, I could get it that far.
but with the two little places in front of the doors and then the small little place in front of the break room area, that's all we like to dress the
Flooring wise.
The flooring
That's correct.
up
And he was
and
kind of
make it
waiting
match.
to have all that done because we had talked about it.
But a really, really nice job. It looks good. The lighting makes all the difference. And
Well, it increased the functionality of that area tremendously, and that, the grand jury room, much, much better for the purpose.
user-friendly,
Yeah, much better.
I was very proud of it all. And Bobby Eason's done a great job.
Yes, yeah, yes.
When we were looking at that a couple of weeks ago, we walked into the old switchboard room.
Oh. So Bobby missed that too. Now, we weren't doing anything, again, trying to be good stewards of the county's money. We were trying to do the minimum that we needed to do. He's still supposed to paint that room. He missed that, but we weren't changing out any carpet or base. So if that's something that
That
you...
wasn't a question.
He
That was a good answer for some.
was worried because we had actually said that there was no work happening in that server room that's beyond it, and he mistook that as that entire area. And I said, no, this interview room is supposed to be repainted. And he said, okay, I'll get it taken care of. But yeah, the what is it, the light green base and the carpet's pretty worn in there too. So, and I don't know, we'll have some additional materials left over from that. So you might have enough, because it's a small room.
Was there enough of the carpet squares to do?
Well, we always ask for them to give you an amount, like 10% or something like that of what they use.
Well,
So
they
you
probably
should
would.
have.
I mean, it's just a big closet.
Exactly. So you should have that plus base and.
Okay, just relax a minute. What I was getting at was they want to use that for an interview room.
Correct.
Okay, the door opens in. It doesn't readily switch to opening out. I mean, to change out that door facing and do that, I think would be a problem.
Well, we did that on Lori's area. You know, we modified the frame, added a continuous hinge, and did that to hers. It can be done there, but again, the only thing we were
Okay.
doing to that room was
You
cosmetic.
forgot rule one was, hold on a minute.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Now, the idea was, they wanted a table in there. Now, somewhere in the middle of the night, that hit me, and I thought, okay, why couldn't you have a table that had a drop leg, it went up against the wall, when they go in there, the officer lets it down, it sits between them, there's a leg that comes down and sits on the floor. I mean, rather than, I think that's an awful lot of expense to go to switch that around. As I recall, that wasn't cheap on Lori's, but it gets a lot more traffic, that's going to have very limited use. But I think we'd have to be sure the door's still open some with the table down there. I realize it's not going to swing all the way, there's just not enough room. But I sure think we need to realize the possible infrequency of that use before we get carried away in there. To look at some other ways of addressing that. Painting it, I agree, needs to be done. I don't know whether that includes taking that old telephone box off the wall there.
Did you know where he's talking about down low by the baseboard? There's a switch apparatus of some kind that's, I think.
And mentioned if you touch it every now and then, you might get a little buzz.
Well, I think it predates our
Yeah,
old.
it's the old phone system. There you
Yeah, I
go.
mean, probably when they had the plugs, they were stuck in that crank, yeah,
Party line still,
yeah,
part of that.
yeah.
But you guys can do whatever you want to that room. The only thing we're doing is painting it.
Okay, all right. Then let's reserve that solution a little bit.
Okay, and she did have some, Judge, small one-on-one tables she made the comment about that she wanted to try them in some areas.
Yeah, I think they were talking with Donna at one point. They were,
That she already, Maureen had purchased them for something and they didn't use upstairs, or they're not critical upstairs to them, and so she could bring them down like for the person reporting at the grand jury.
Okay.
So she wanted to forego any furniture right now until she got situated and let everybody kind of see where their stuff best suited off which wall and yada yada.
Okay. In this item, do we need to have this money then come out of the tax revenue fund? Because it's gone over the contingency amount, or we're going to be going over the total budget? Is that $2,500 beyond the, if we use, okay. So it needs to be funded, it's going to be funded from contingency. And the rest of it came out of the tax revenue fund, didn't it? Okay. So,
And Judge, we don't foresee, I mean, this should be it. There's really nothing else to be done out there but these last items, cosmetic items, so.
And Matt is addressing the locks there
Yeah.
to coordinate.
Yeah, they're going to extend what was already in place in the grand jury area across the Hall of Meredith area. And I've got a call into Texoma on
Well, and then
working that out.
a little bit of that, the expense of the card reader, that's for the outside doors as well as the grand jury door, that's all run off the server in Maureen she already owns, and she's paying C&I to go ahead and do those card. And Meredith may have it for her main door too, I don't know, but.
I don't think it was just the double doors. They're held with magnetic
Okay.
holes.
And so is the grand jury, isn't it?
Grand jury, yes, is currently done that way as well. And I don't know, they may take it off of that system once they have the double doors on it.
Okay.
That they may go ahead and take that one off because they would need it then at that point.
Okay. And when will we see that cost?
Oh, that's already in there. I mean,
It's already
yeah,
in.
I got to double check exactly where that stops, but we had in there to provide the magnetic system to interface with the existing. But I think then the sheriff's department has some cameras up there that Ashley may readjust now to point to work at that door, because if somebody walks in, like if I walk up to it for no good reason, as I usually do, and I push the button, it's going to go to Meredith's receptionist in her suite, and on her TV and on her wall will have that camera feed, and that way then she can buzz me in if she needs to.
And Sheriff, I know Meredith has talked to someone and about the guys looking at those doors as they have time to go ahead and restain or fix, and they told her, like the grand jury one, they were concerned about it taking stain. Now the older doors that are down there that are kind of the blonde wood,
Right.
they think those will work.
Yeah.
But there was just a couple of newer style doors that may not receive that stain, and they have a game plan, but you might just follow up with the work crew as to when they can fit that in, because that'll be a little ongoing for us to complete.
Well, I think we talked too about, I think you guys have some extra doors maybe pulled out of some other projects, or
Yes.
Lindemann or something
Yes,
like that.
there is.
They could test before they, actually
Yeah.
get something on that door.
Yeah. Judge, I'd make the motion that we move forward with the archway in the remodel
and then pay from the tax revenue.
from the tax revenue note.
Before we get a second, any other questions in the audience?
Hey, welcome back. What time are you
Okay,
like?
is there a second? Okay, motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Dixon to approve the item as stated with the modification of taking out from contingency funds to be paid from tax revenue fund. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Bohannon, good to see you back.
Thank you.
Item number 7, discuss and take action to allow the county clerk to hire a temporary employee, Renee Rady, to be trained with mental health clerks at a cost of up to $12.50 per hour, plus temporary staffing fees to be paid from 100.403.1295.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You better, sir. She's hungry.
I was delivering election equipment for her for early voting that nobody knows has started today.
We do it. Marge ready.
Yeah. Well, we kind of have a problem with their mental health. I have 2 brand new people over there, and no one really to train. So
Okay.
we checked with Renee, and she should get her summer schedule, so she should be able to come in and
Okay.
stuff.
All right, so you're going to have her on county payroll or on temp service? Which way is she going?
I didn't I don't know, because she has a full-time job, so I didn't know if she needed to go through the team. Or if you were gonna
It's
be-
either way, you know, in her case, because she's probably still, she hasn't done anything to her retirement fund, that either way, it's gonna cost us more than $12.50. But I would think in her case, and it's what we did with Janet, was we let her continue, so she got additional full-time months.
I mean, that's the way I was thinking, but we'll do whatever y'all want me to do. I just know we need help there.
Okay. Yeah.
It should be part-time.
Yes, she would be, yeah, she would be part-time. And it probably wouldn't be every day, and
It would be intermittent, just like to get on her work schedule.
just until we can get them.
Lori, what is Renee to Mark? Is she
It
related?
was her father-in-law.
Oh, okay,
She's married to Steve.
okay.
Where did we lose her to? Back to school?
Serenity,
Huh?
Serenity
counseling or something.
Because that goes along with her degree there. That's right. I knew there was some connection there. Okay.
She's actually using her degree.
Any comments, questions, anyone in the audience?
Motion to approve, Judge.
Second. So did we decide we're going temp or going county?
Well, the way it's worded here, it's through county payroll
Okay.
because of the line side. Okay. All right, all in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Your motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for the little treat that you brought.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, very
We're
good.
gonna order rice and try eating it with the chopsticks you brought us today.
Good luck with that, because I can't eat it. I tried.
We'll all get skinny if we can on those. Okay. Item A, discuss and consider take action to establish a uniform allowance plan for uniformed personnel in the sheriff's office effective May 31st, 2018. We discussed this in budget. We tried to figure out how to do this thing, and I brought it to the court. I got some input from the auditor, and then I recently sent you all a thing on Jim Allison, who's the general counsel to County Judges Commissioners Association, was answering another judge's question about the same kind of thing, and said it's under the new tax law, which I don't think any of us know exactly what's happening, including the people that wrote it. It kind of reminds me of the Affordable Health Care Act, but at any rate, the best we can determine, it's going to become a more rigorous test and to provide any kind of uniforms to people. So I'm recommending we adopt a policy that would put us into where you buy what you want. It does not have a tax. It's included in the wages, which is the way we had it prior to 2012. I didn't remember when we turned it over, and we changed it from what it was.
Was I correct to read somewhere that we've had this allowance since 2000?
Yes, sir.
So for 18 years, it's been $300?
Yes, sir.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
they started at 300 about 1986. When I first got my $300 check, got it in January. Everybody in the sheriff's office did, uniform people. And then, of course, that's been a few weeks ago. And that's, back then, it was adequate to cover uniform costs. Nowadays, you know, a uniform shirt is $57. They don't care if you get it at Galls or uniform shop, where you're gonna buy it. And you get some little cheaper ones for some of the jail staff that can wear, that are more like, I'm not calling them combat BDUs, but they're ripstop, you know, they're durable. But the, one of the things I would like to suggest is to raise that amount from 300. Agencies our size are getting 700, depending on what the agency is, how big it is. I don't think you want 700. I'd like to try to raise it to 500 because of the fact that it costs more. But not everyone you got to remember is going to run out and spend every $500 of it, because they just don't. Some of the people take care of their stuff. Some people are prone to getting things tore up. Depending on how many fights you get with a Wildcat, apparently.
You furnished us a couple of years ago some information on that, and I I don't know what happened, we didn't do anything, I would certainly.
No,
agree.
nothing has ever been reworked or anything, and other than the fact that at one point it was put on a paycheck, the taxes were drawn out of it. I can remember I was, each paycheck, it was $11.28 I got for uniform allowance. It may cover some undergarments, but it wasn't going to cover uniform. It took me about several weeks to do that.
Lieutenant Bonin showed me a shirt that he gets a nice uniform pullover, and I think he told me he could maybe get 5 of those, maybe, but he said that like after 10 months of wash machine wear, just without physical abuse to them, you know, they start, and I agree that, you know, even those kind of shirts are, they'll just hold up so long.
They'll just hold up so long, and it's the shirts that I've been dragging my feet on doing. My wife probably did it for me. Was these aren't uniform shirts. These are bought. You know, I bought these. These are Stafford shirts, and they're made for, you know, less wrinkles and things. Then I take the gentries and put them on, and have the embroidery and the star put on it. So there's no doubt what it is. It's uniform. And we're going to look at getting our investigators to do these type of shirts as well. And they have badges, and they don't get to use that money to buy shirts and the kind of regular colored pants that we do wear, as we allow to wear, because it's the work that they do is not working in suits every day. You know, I've seen guys tear up stuff in the pants wearing as like not the Docker type pants, but they'll tear them up. Go on a search warrant for that, you'll wish you'd never done that, because you wasted about $40 there. So it's just depending on one of the things we're trying to do with the investigators, but once again, there's only 5 of those guys that dress that way. But the uniform guys, that's what I want to find out if we could raise that cost up to $500 per individual. As far as the rest of it, I don't know how the court, I wasn't there Friday, so I'm not sure what was discussed. Was Jill, were you there? Any more questions?
Well, we received that notice that the judge forwarded to us from the Association of Counties Attorney, and you know, there were two requirements, and certainly number one was so easy that it's a requirement that these type of clothing be worn, and that was one of the requirements to qualify. But the second one, I mean, you could pick one side of the argument and I could pick the other, and we could never agree because any clothing is adaptable to anything, anytime, anywhere. Whether you were wearing pajamas because you worked at the sleep shop, or clown uniform because you worked at the hamburger place, you could wear it wherever you wanted to, anytime you wanted to.
Yeah.
And so it's so vague, and so this is just a smarter way to go, just a reimbursement that then puts the money
right
in there.
But I think we do need to look at the amount of that for 2019 budget.
Sure.
We need to
No,
take that
absolutely.
in, because it is behind the times. The interesting thing, when I asked the auditor to look at how they were, because in our discussing the other day when we talked about your budget, you said, wow, that's not a big deal. And so we tried to look at, because that now becomes part of your hourly rate. And that's why I think we did away with it in 2012, and we stopped adding anybody for certificate pay.
Right.
Because instead of being just a good thing to recognize, it became a pretty big impact on what it added to especially the overtime rate.
Right.
So with this, and a number of hours to break even after taxes and then all, it took 8 hours of overtime a pay period. And well, I'd be impressed if you had people only getting 8 hours overtime.
I'd be proud to brag about that.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Is it 8 hours per pay period or 8 hours total per year?
no, per pay period. To break out.
To break even
Yeah.
on
I
the
think
tax pay?
I think that's what she said, was 8 hours per pay period.
Well, 8 times, let's say $15 is the going rate, that's 15 plus 7, 22 times 8, $160, $180 in one. Wouldn't they get the ever pay?
No, it's 8 hours per year.
Deem have it.
Yeah. So they're gonna make out with considerably more money.
Did you look it back? I can't remember.
No, well, if it's,
Okay.
it has to be 8 hours per year.
Either way, it will come out, but it does add.
And so I understand, as we stand today, the Gulls portal stuff, the county covers that for employees that are, have made purchases through there. But we still have some employees to reimburse for the first quarter of 2018.
That's correct.
Right? And then, do we have any ideal, say, do we know the number of employees that we're talking about that receive the stipend? What is it?
What are we talking about? They've got the exact number, but it's
183-ish?
That's probably right. It's 180.
What do you want to know, Jim?
The total number of employees, 183?
Yes, 183, yes.
And so how many of those haven't used any of their money? You probably...
I'll have to count that up. We've got it on a spreadsheet.
Let me ask you, how much money in total have the 183 employees spent making purchases?
Through the portal?
Yeah, or well, in any regard?
Most of them, I believe, we've got we had 71 people order since the 31st of March. They're right up to the limit. Most of them are going like $296, so $4 is all we have left to spend. But we have a huge majority of the 186 so far that's gone through the uniform line.
Also, keep in mind, because of our turnover rate, we got a lot of new people, new boots that they're having to go out and buy, because they can't, first 6 months, they don't get a uniform allowance until after they hit 6 month mark.
Oh, after 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months, so they're jumping in there to get.
And when someone leaves, do they attempt to turn in whatever?
Sometimes they do, and sometimes you don't want it, but sometimes. Right. But we do have some for some employees that really just are stretched.
When they come to work and they just don't have the money to purchase the $300,
right.
We do have a closet that has some in it.
I'm showing 183 employees receiving $300 apiece would be $54,900. Do you know what through March the 31st we have spent?
Yes.
Or in neither employee purchased or portal purchased?
Not a total. Not in a total yet.
Oh, okay.
I can get that for you though.
Well, one of the things we're going to have to get those totals of what's been personally purchased, what's in Gulls.
Yes, I have all that.
And we're going to send notice to Gulls, if this is adopted today, to stop all purchasing as of the 20th, so you all have a chance to put this together. And then some people may get $4.
Yes, sir.
We're going to take the balance and put it all on that check.
Yes.
So that we're not trying to.
Right.
That's not of it. Then in January, it starts being the payday amount.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, we have all that. Robin has all that in a spreadsheet.
Okay.
It has everybody's totals to date, and we can go back.
Only to the 31st.
Yeah, only to the 31st, but now we can go back on the Gulls portal and pull up till today.
Okay.
And get it to.
But can we stop, or could we put a hold, Sheriff,
Yes.
then on any
We can
purchases
tell,
till the end of the month?
yeah, we can cut the portal off at any time we need to.
Okay, when do you all want to do that? That would.
Let us, we can work on this today and get from the 31st of March to present. And once we get to present, the only thing is we will need to check with Gulls to see what was back ordered. Because some of them haven't received what they've ordered, and we need to get that done. And then as soon as we can get with Gulls to see what's still on back order, then we will be to a cutoff point.
But we could send the word that to stop purchases even on yourself, not just through the portal.
We can send out an email today that says no more.
Just hold up and let us square up.
We're going to square up, and this is what we're going to do.
Okay.
Correct. Yes.
And Judge, I also would be in favor of the $500 amount because it appears it's been way.
Beginning when?
Beginning the 19 amount. Pay this off,
Yeah.
square this up at
So
300.
we don't need that now, we'll adopt that.
Yes, that's the best.
2019 budget.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
And the only caveat I have with that is just the same as we will conclude these 183 people with some form of check to pay them in full, that in the month of January of 2019, that we also cut one check to an employee for this uniform allowance and not have it dragged out throughout.
Let me quickly say on that 183, I'm not sure if Deb has, I think we have a couple, 2 or 3 fixing to start. So that 183 total may not have those new people in it.
They're close to their 6-month deal.
Right.
And then after June, then no one's eligible
Right.
until January the 1st.
Exactly,
Okay.
correct, yeah.
And I guess that works okay?
Well, it's better than stuck in the mud. You know, it's.
What does a person do that comes to the jail does he just go out and buy his own stuff the first go around?
Yeah, he has to fit the whole bill. He has to get him enough uniforms too.
Yeah, we've had some try to, hang on until they're eligible and submit it for reimbursement, but not a quarter of those people ever did that.
But I mean, it works okay.
You're right.
But that would be my motion, Judge, on that, is to conclude this, to hold up where we're at today, square up where we're at today with the $300 amount, move to 2019 for a $500 amount, and pay that employee in one lump sum.
For the balance of this year.
The balance of this year and moving forward as well.
So you're saying next year on their first paycheck in January, they get the whole $500?
Or at some paycheck in January, they get the whole $500.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Why?
What happens, you have a turnover rate, you put the $500 out, they've gotten their uniforms, they leave you in 2 months.
Well, one, you could either reimburse for it, but they don't get it till 6 months. So they're with you for a while.
I've never heard that 6 months policy.
Oh, yeah, we set that in here a few years ago.
Okay, that slid out of my mind.
They're seasoned by the time they're qualified, and they're half a year old.
So they'll get, you're saying that 500.
The one-time deal, and when they hire somebody new, his eligibility date becomes this.
Okay, I'd rather we don't convolute the motion, let's take care of this problem. Let's discuss that in budget. That may, I'm following more what you're saying after the 6 months, that they'll have probably spent that 500 by then. Okay.
Maybe not all of it, because let's just go out and spend every dime of it, and, how do you know they won't tear 3 shirts up in a month? And then, it's out of your pocket at that point, obviously.
Guess they can file a claim this in. Yeah.
When do you think that y'all can have back that the spreadsheet
How
showing the
quick do you want?
183?
I can have it to you by Friday.
Okay.
Okay, can we just notify Galls then that we're terminating any charges past Friday?
Yes, sir.
Except for what might be on back order?
Yes, sir.
And they need to
Yes,
send
sir.
you a list of that?
And that can be, I mean, it may be quite a few back-ordered items that for whatever reason they didn't have them in or.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna put a start date when we start this reimbursement.
Well, for this year, it would be, if we could reimburse them for June.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would say by
starting
June
first pay period in
15th, by
June.
June 15th, we should be square.
Okay. So as soon as we get reconciliation done, you all in the order of truth this up,
Yes,
then the pay period after that started.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. You want to restate your motion?
Yes, that we hold any additional purchases starting effective now. We square up to the, what's existing, the 183 individuals that are currently eligible for the $300. And what has not been purchased at this point, that we pay them the balance of the remaining dollars unspent directly to the employee in June.
I think we ought to go do that, but why not leave it until the reconciliation is complete, just in case they have trouble getting the information from Galls or anything else.
Second.
Okay, and the additional funds needed will come from general fund contingency to pay the...
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other comments, anyone? Thanks for work and getting this up and get that done. We'll be great shape, I guess, I hope. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Beecham, that we hold all purchases, additional purchases as of today, except back-ordered items, and pay balance of allowance once the SO and the auditor have reconciled the allowance with the additional required funds from general fund contingency. Does that sound right?
Yeah, reimbursement budgeted in the budgets. You know, from general fund contingencies, it's in the budget.
Well, but the additional costs of it, Willie, and running it through payroll, if we pay everybody out, there's not any money there to pay the payroll
I bet
expense.
you we've spent half of it. You didn't see that number, Robin, when you did the spreadsheet? I mean, are you thinking we spent $20,000, $30,000 already?
No.
The majority of people have spent, you've got more than that.
Payroll costs.
$16,000.
So which side?
Yeah,
Something like that.
About 16,000, Jeff.
is what you've spent out of 54, so we still have.
But that's only as of March 31st, and I show 71 people ordering since then, so it's gonna be.
So we could easily have done half. So Judge, I amend my motion to include those payroll charges out of general fund.
That's what, no, that's why I had that in there.
Okay.
To do that.
Because we're probably just guesstimating, the first quarter was just over $16,000. There's 71 people pending in this next quarter as of now, and we could easily have spent half of the $55,000 we allocate to that function. So we're probably talking about an additional $6,000 to $7,000 in payroll expense on this money.
Yeah, that's.
The annual estimate is what, 12.5? Is that what I saw, something like
Yes.
that? So,
Now,
that'd be about right.
Now, bear in mind that with an increase, we'll see an increase in that for 19, but it won't be 12.5.
That's right. So what's already done, there won't be payroll costs associated with it, it's just what's to come, okay.
That would be an increase to us of $36,600 if we consider that in the 19 budget, which would, you know, going to add us roughly, you know, 3/4 of that again, so another $8,000. We're looking at 20,000 plus in payroll costs to administer. It's $91,000.
That's if you had to go to the 500?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, one of the things I'm thinking, and help me out on this, but I'm thinking that some of the reimbursement things we've seen come through, that those are fairly new employees. Are we sure we're holding that 6-month line? Is anybody looking at their date of employment and when they're submitting for reimbursement? Are we sure of that?
We can look at it.
It should be that way, but they're not, we've got so many new people in the last
coming and go.
9 months.
I'm just saying,
We can check it out and make
yeah,
sure
I'm
that
going
we're
to check
right.
that.
But that is the policy.
Yes,
and it
that is
should
our
be
policy.
So Lieutenant Bottoms told them, you know, explicitly, you can't get uniforms.
Okay, I'm trying to say, is that an SO policy, or was that in the Commissioner's Court when this was adopted?
That was Commissioner's Court.
Yeah.
Okay, because we might have to go back and, I like the idea of that, but it's just not coming up in my Rolodex.
Believe it was your idea, Judge, when we started it.
Probably was.
Pretty sure it was.
Well, you know, that was the thing in the military we had to wait.
Yeah.
You know, you had to buy all your uniforms. There's only a good thing about getting drafted, you got free uniforms.
And part of that reasoning was the exactly, you get somebody who works here 2 or 3 months, and they realize this isn't really my cup of tea, and they go somewhere else. That's the reason why.
Yeah. Or could say, is that called adverse retention?
Yeah.
Is Amanda here?
Yep.
Yes. Is there the ability to, on new hires, to sign that waiver, you know, I don't know that there's anything to be had that first year, but, I mean, is a reimbursement or withhold from a paycheck possible?
It's payroll.
That's a
That'd be
hard question.
Oh, okay.
You would have to have something in place that they sign.
It could be something they sign when they do the benefits orientation and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I think that one needs a little thought.
That's interesting, the Army pays for your uniforms, and the Marine Corps, I didn't get a dime.
Yeah, but look at the uniform you had. Those were Army hand-me-downs, Bob. They just didn't tell you that.
You know, chances are you're right.
Y'all spend your money on photographers, I know how it works.
Required.
Right. Okay. Okay, we need to look at that issue of how we've got those people, because I'm pretty sure, I think there's some in there, but could be wrong. Okay. I'm going to reread this motion, but I'm going to ask that we have a little latitude to correct this as when Nancy starts trying to put it in the minutes. But the basics of the motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Beecham, is hold all purchases as of today except for the back order and pay balance of the allowance in payroll once the SO and the auditor have reconciled the allowance with the additional required payroll funds to come from general fund contingency.
Pay balance in one single lump sum check?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Sheriff, I know this wasn't exactly your deal, but I don't know a better way to solve it, and I appreciate your being open to that.
Well, it should free up everyone's time.
Okay. Next is item number 9, receive an update on law enforcement center project from Commissioner Beecham.
Yes, sir. I did pass out the action item plan to everyone this morning. It should have been attached to our our agenda. Gives a detail of everything that is going on, everything that's been done up to date. It's a big week. We do have an LEC meeting this Thursday, which we'll get our final drawings and we'll bring them before the Commissioners Court on Thursday afternoon for approval and our GMP budget for approval at that time. Some of the details that we are working on right now from the action items, a couple of things just to highlight. One is, before we start major construction, we want to have a meeting of all of our financial partners, and get everybody in a room, the auditor's office, Mr. Hanford, to make sure that we are channeling the monies correctly and understand the process of how we receive bids, et cetera, on the project, because we are CMAR. We were a little bit unsure of how to open bids and how to take bids, accept bids on the project. So want to get everybody in a room before we start the major construction, iron out those details, get everybody on the same page. That's one of the bigger open items right now, is to settle all that. If you look on the last page of the detail, shows the two projects that are underway, and one of them is nearing completion, the parking lot and the fencing. Parking lot is for all practical purposes complete. Still have striping and some landscaping to do. On the landscaping, we've kind of taken a little step back to make sure we're coordinating with Shepherd Air Force Base to ensure we're not putting any plants that would attract grackles, cattle egrets, or anything that would be detrimental to their mission at Shepherd. So holding off on tree planting until we find out what plants are good plants that we can use that won't be an adverse hazard to Shepherd Air Force Base.
Cactus.
Cactus.
Grackles don't go there, inmates won't jump in it either.
Yeah, okay, we do cactus.
Although you have seen them do it before, but it's painful.
Fencing, the posts are all up. Do we know, have we heard when they're going to start stretching wires?
That should be this week.
That's what I thought,
Yeah.
this week.
Yeah.
Matt, since you're here, did they shoot those grades on the?
It's fine. Yeah, they've been. I talked to Kerry, and they had shot the east, that north drive line. The east half of it is really close, but it kind of drops a little bit too much on the west half, and it's like 6 inches a little low on that side. So Kerry and I were talking about just when we get to that point, we may just change it to where sheet flows across. There's no curb at that point, rather than redoing it.
Well, we're still well within contingencies on both projects. You'll look and see our contingency budget still has a remaining $31,488. We did make several changes in the fencing project as we went along. Originally, we had the high security fence running along the outside of the gun range. So we moved that to essentially the north side, making the length of that fence a little bit longer and thus a little more costly. Several reasons for that. One, it was interference with the low-hanging phone lines along the power line that runs down Production Boulevard, so we had to modify that. Plus, it gives a better security for the gun range from the inside, so won't have anybody attempting to jump the berm and jumping into the facility or out of the facility. So it just made a little more sense once we got it all drawn up on paper. There were also some sidewalks that were added into that, but still within contingency. I don't expect that we'll have anything new added.
Oh, yeah, it will. There's no doubt in my mind.
Well, on these two projects. Oh, okay. On these two projects, we are
just Jesus, Martin.
We're very completion on these two items on the overall project, so if the rest of the project goes this well, then we'll be in good shape, so.
While you're talking on that, the 17th is a key. We're having the LEC meeting in the morning. That is posted. We will go through and try to make sure everything is ready at that time to bring to Commissioners Court to present it and take action to approve that Thursday afternoon. We will have the regular meeting on Friday morning at 10, but that Thursday meeting is a very significant meeting. Try to get that stuff done. If for some reason we run into a snag, we can continue over until Friday. And the only reason I'm pushing on that, we wanted to get that done. I will be out the next 2 weeks for that. And I don't want that to hang anything up, but I sure want to be part of that decision.
It keeps us
This is where we'll schedule payments, Judge, is that what you're saying?
They were supposed to have sent us that, Bob, and you've already, I think, that's the thing I'm hoping we'll get out of that is the projected schedule of payments, more firm than what we have right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we will receive the overall budget this Thursday, and just as a side note, if you look on the notes that were included in the agenda packet, item 3.1, I'm encouraged by the fact that they brought several items that we had originally pulled out. They put them back in as options, our build team, so I'm encouraged by that sign that our budget is where it needs to be, since we do have those option items back on the table.
So do we have a proposed timeline past Thursday? I mean, any indication that?
We'll go out to bid Friday.
Yeah, I think it's set to advertise then that following Sunday and the next week I think the bids are turned in on the 14th, I think is the right date.
That's why we want to get everything done
Right.
Thursday, so we stay on our preset timeline. You'll see.
We talked earlier about having a superintendent that would represent us in that. When does that come about?
We're constantly involved with them.
Yeah, that's where
We're talking about the other person.
I thought there was another individual that.
We budgeted for it.
Yeah.
and there was 80,000 I thought it was approved.
What's the term, Lee? I can't.
No.
No, it's a client rep.
Yeah, basically I've been programmed to do that on a day, every day as opposed to any other work in the office. That's not going to be my area of concentration.
If you want to, that's not in the item today, particularly discussed, so let's don't get off on that tangent, but.
I was just trying to get a general idea of the
Yeah.
timeline, just kind of when all that kicks in. So it'll move pretty quick then after.
Yeah, your timeline's here and there. That's written into you, so as of right now, our groundbreaking ceremonial groundbreaking set for July 27th. So things will start going fast after this.
Is the hangar out of the way?
The hangar is down.
What?
The pipes still up.
I thought they said completely down now. I think it's all down.
Maybe it's just still sitting there.
It makes them be sitting there. I think everything is.
Thursday or Friday, it was about 90%, 95% down.
That's what I was thinking. It wasn't all the way down.
No. No, apparently the guy who tried to buy it went out there with a grinder and a bunch of cutting disc and tried to cut. Took about 3 hours to get one cut on the bottom of the beam. Said he surrendered. Bigger job than he needed. So the welding shop guy was able to take it down anyway.
That's not been the best deal.
No.
And then the slab removal is being done by their contractor out there that did the work on the parking lot and all that, so.
But each week from now on, this will be included in the agenda packet. It's our action plan. It shows everything that's being worked on in a particular week and what things are forecasted for the upcoming week, so.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Anything else on that? Go down to public comments. Anyone in the audience?
Amanda?
I sent out an email the other day just announcing that we officially have a new HR assistant in the Human Resources Office. So Sonia Labrie is with me.
Sonia
Labrie.
Labrie. Mike Labrie.
That's my brother-in-law.
Your Dina's sister.
No. Are you talking about Mike Labrie from Burke?
I think he was.
He has a brother, I don't know, no Dina. His brother's name is.
Some people won't play.
His brother's name is Jay.
Was Mike married?
Yeah, my brother-in-law's married to somebody named Janice.
Two Mike Labries, maybe. Depends on your class.
Huh?
Same guy.
Well, actually, I think he worked there. He has his own glass place, but I don't think it's been Slinger.
Glad to have you with us.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, good to have you.
Thank you.
Have the office complete, so.
Yes. Yes.
Hopefully I'll be a whole lot of help to her.
Where are you from?
I'm actually from Clay County. I'm actually from Petrolia, so.
Now, do you live in Wichita County now, or are you still?
No, I still live in Petrolia.
Okay.
I'm
Pirate, so we need to watch out for her.
Yes, I'm a pirate. That's all.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Judge, if Matt or Ralph could speak on, I was under maybe a different impression about what we're doing at the substations on locks, and I wanted to make sure that Matt spoke to us about, or what he mentioned to me, or Ralph.
Yeah, he's more familiar
to
with
make
that.
sure that we have the same lock procedure in place. Ralph, you're aware that we went out for bids and received from M&C doors.
MC doors and windows.
Rodney McCliskey. Yes, to put those locks on the substations that are all keyed the same, that we can have a Grandmaster for and so on.
Well, they follow this system that's in this part of the building.
No. I don't believe so.
What does?
They're the master key, or the individual buildings are master key, but I don't think they're keyed back into this system.
That's what we bid out for the 3 substations, so that they fall in as part of the locking system, so we stop this proliferation of keys.
Well, and it may be, I don't know, but the keys, the key blanks that are part of this system are restricted.
Correct.
Can only
But
be.
it is the same system.
Well, yes, that was my impression until Matt told me this. I had not heard this before, and so it concerned me when I did, because we only saved $1,000 to do what we've done away from Texoma Builders, which would have known what our key system was, right?
Yes.
So I'm assuming that we were under that plan, but why do you think that we wouldn't be that way, Ralph?
Well, for one thing, well, let me kind of backtrack here a little bit of history. Back whenever we first started doing projects that involved the whole courthouse system, there was concern at that time, and as obviously there's continued to be concern about keeping up with the keys, make sure it is restricted to only the people that you wanted to be able to get keys made. And if you don't have some method, then anybody can go to Walmart or Lowe's or whatever and just have a key made. So the way we accomplish that, and this is just, over time accomplished, we basically specified a keyway system. And this is an F2 keyway, which basically, you know, when you look at your key blank, you get all the cuts on one side, but it's basically the keyway where you slide it into the lock. It has the long openings in it. And so it's an F2 keyway. Well, the F2 keyway basically is limited to Texoma. At the time, they, you know, could qualify for, and it was restricted, only they could buy the F2 keyway for this area. And that's the way it's been for quite some time. Now, it is, you know, a Corbin-Russwin lock. It is a Corbin-Russwin keyway. And you can, the county can say, Mr. Plesky or whoever else it might be, we will give you an authorization, and I basically have brought some forms here. I've been talking to most of you guys and to Corbin-Russwin now for about 3 or 4 weeks, trying to kind of work around this. I'd asked Mr. McCleskey to see how he could consider how he could work on something without, you know, without violating the keyway system and the master key process that we have in the courthouse. And of course, not all the courthouse is completely changed over even at this time. And what I was able to work out with a lady at Kristen Herndon or something like that with Corbin-Russwin over several different phone calls is that they have a process. They're not kind of sticking with the agreement that they had with Texoma. They're allowing other people to get this keyway or get this process if you all give us a deal to a Corbin-Russwin distributor or a Corbin-Russwin dealer. They had to be a Corbin-Russwin dealer to be able to get this deal. And I guess.
Well, our guy is a dealer?
I don't know.
Yes.
But the keyway belongs to us, correct?
Correct.
But in talking to Mr. McCleskey, he was not a dealer at that time. He may be now, I don't know. Anyway, I did, because I knew he was someone that you all expressed an interest in, I come over to the office. We met for quite some time and discussed the whole situation so that there could be more competition. Now, what I was able to do was basically from Corbin-Russwin come up with this method. And that is the way I've specified it in the jail hardware. You know, the owner will give a letter, an authorization letter to any Corbin-Russwin dealer that if they want to purchase the keyways directly from Corbin-Russwin, well, here it is. They sign an acceptance letter that basically says we will maintain this restriction and maintain this security, and we, you know, pledge that so that it's not just something that's turned loose. So I'm not sure if Mr. McCleskey was able to do that on the substation buildings without y'all giving an authorization. That I don't know, so I'm just not sure if those are the F2 keyway.
F2 or F4?
F2.
Okay.
You take your key over there and if you go in those locks, it's probably the F2 keyway. If it won't go in the lock, it's not an F2 keyway.
Okay.
So
I'll check on that.
So what we've done is that I know I've talked to several of you all about this, and we don't want to be limiting it. We want to get the maximum competition that we can. So that was after a lot of phone calls and conversations. That was the way that we figured out that we could do it, is to give them. I mean, there were other ways too. You buy all the keys, buy all the keys, the F2 keys yourself, and you all cut them yourself, or whatever the case may be. That's that's another way. But keys are only as good as you've got somebody in charge of keeping up with it.
We don't have that.
It's basically, Midwestern has a department, one person that takes care of all the keys, all the doors, all and the whole campus, and he keeps up with it. And other people are the same way. I'm sure the hospital is. I don't know who it is over there. I know who it is, or who it was. Buddy Linton over at Western, until he just retired. But all you got to do is have someone that can take your great grandmaster key that doesn't have a restricted keyway, and you can go to Walmart or Lowe's or wherever else you want to, and you cut it, give it out. Everybody has access to everything.
Yeah.
But I thought that key couldn't be cut at Walmart.
It can't be, because they don't have the F2 blanks. But I'm saying if you don't stick with that methodology, if you don't
Okay.
stick with that restricted
Well, I'll
keyway.
call him straight away and make sure we're on the F2 keyway.
Yeah.
Now, Fisher, you want to?
Abstain.
No, okay. Now, the area down here, the civil division area, it's going to be part of that same F2 key system?
Correct.
Yes. That's what they currently have on the grand jury side, or at least the locks that they can't. They still have some of the older mortise lock stuff that they can't do that with, but.
But are we not going to change those out, Matt, or can't we?
That wasn't a part of that project.
Well, can't we go ahead and expand that project to cover that?
You could, but you can't replace those. That's what we were talking about on Thursday. You can't just do that. You have to replace the doors with it. I mean,
The doors may be different too?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the mortise locks, that's notched out.
They're notched cut into the door.
Yeah.
So if I'm understanding this F2 keyway concept, or whatever you call it, prior to today, that was owned by a dealer, and what we're trying to do is have us be in control of it so that we could use several people to service it. Is that the difference?
Well, the deal is that yes, you have control over the keyway because you cannot give you have to give the permission to another dealer other than Texoma to basically provide those locks with the F2 keyway. Now, F2 just happens to be a number. There's all kinds of different keyways, but there's also there's also varying degrees of security. They've got security, rather than the old cuts like you've always seen, they've got holes that drill into the side of the keyway, and that's the way in the lock set up that say that's a one very high security way of making.
Ralph, if you depended on one particular dealer to do that, and for some reason that dealer went out of business, it just seems like we'd be better off to be in control of that ourselves and then hire it out to whoever we wanted to. I mean, I may not be understanding it right, but.
Well, whenever it first happened, there was those keyways, those restricted or patented keyways, were basically sold to specific dealers. And if you were in line, you paid your money, you made your deal with Corbin Russell, and that was restricted to you.
You got, yeah.
And so that's where you were and are, I guess now, in terms of Texoma has bought that, paid for that, but they kind of feel like reneged upon because Corbin Russell knew let them do the other things.
We paid for it.
Well, you paid for it. It cost the hardware.
Yeah.
So it all depends on whether you guys, what level of security you want to stay with. Do you want to stay with a restricted keyway? Do you want to limit people?
Yeah. Sure we do.
Then it's going to take some work, kind of like what Jeff's talking about, because in my conversation with Mr. Kleski, it leads me to believe that he was not an authorized Corbin Russell dealer, although he could buy Corbin Russell hardware, but he went through an international distributor or a warehouse type of thing, and they could buy it. Now, I'm talking through my hat here because I don't know for sure everything that the man, does or can do. So, but if they're the F2 keyway, and I don't know how he got them, but he might have bought them from Reese Texoma, I don't know. Or Texoma, used to be Reese Texoma.
I don't believe Commissioner Watts specified an F2 keyway for the substations.
Then it's probably not an F2 keyway, it's probably not tied into this.
Will there be additional, we want the F2 keyway, it's just because I didn't know about it and I was relying on Texoma to give us that information, nor did McCluskey mention that I told him I wanted them to be identical to what we already had here. He never mentioned to me that there was a blocked keyway that he is unable to obtain without proper.
Well, he may have made some kind of arrangement since he and I talked, so I'm not.
When did you talk to him?
Oh, probably 3 weeks ago. Because I talked to Commissioner Beecham, I talked to you, I talked to Lee, and I talked to Mr. McCluskey, talked to the judge, where do we want to stay with this in terms of maintaining it? And, trying to maintain the security and trying to keep it competitive, this is the kind of the compromise methodology here is that you all can give that authorization to another Corbin Russell dealer, and that they can provide it, because you've got Corbin Russell dealers, Fort Worth, Lubbock, all kinds of different places that can bid it. That makes sense?
Sure, yeah, and I'll get to the bottom. I just didn't know about the F2 keyway. No one explained that to me. Either Texoma nor McCluskey explained it to me.
Well, McCluskey wouldn't know, because he's never been able to do business up here, because it's always been sole source.
And now we know why.
But that's because they've changed their policy, and they
changed their policy
the
now.
owner to authorize
Yeah.
and someone else to provide that box.
Exactly, and that's the reason I gave you these forms, or sample forms. If, and I did publish that in the specification for the county jail. We're doing the commercial doors, the HOK is doing the security doors. But to be sure that you all could get the commercial doors to fit into your main system is another.
Did we happen to look at, we talked about this, you know, the thing that bothers me when I worked for Midwestern and I had a master key, I signed a deal that if I lost that, I would pay for, or have it taken out of my pay, for every lock cylinder that had to be changed and the new keys issued.
Wow.
Now.
Yeah, that could be pretty good.
Luckily, the key was limited to one building there. I had another one that was limited to Pierce Hall. But what I'm saying is,
you didn't keep them on the same ring.
dangling from my ear. What I'm saying is, we talked once about, sure, you know, we've looked at the key card thing. You lose a key card, you deprogram it. Are we missing something by not looking at those? Are they that much more expensive than a special door that has to have the keyway cut into it?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you made every door, because it's an electric, you run electricity to it, it's got all kinds of card readers, things like that, or you can do the battery operated and carry batteries around a bushel basket. But at the commercial side of the jail, all the exterior doors are on a card reader. They're programmed in. All specific areas, specifically in where we're doing where they're storing it, evidence storage. Many of those doors are on the card reader.
Right.
And so that, but just everyday door going into an office or things like that, that's just a key, rather than going to card readers everywhere.
Okay. But if you did the kind with the batteries, are they a whole lot less than, I would think they'd have to be less
Well,
than.
because you don't have an electrician having to run conduit.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of hotels, they've only got some system for doing that.
But, excuse me for butting in.
That's all right. Matt.
That's what I was thinking. Thank you.
If you're going to have an access control system, you want that card to be read and send a signal back to your main computer that has everything on it. If it's just simply a standalone lock, you know, with a card reader, and I've got those over at the little Seymour Auditorium that we just did, but every door in the school, they changed it to all those card readers with just battery operated. The good thing about that quote-unquote access control system is that you can program in and you can program out. You can restrict it in time. You can restrict it in people in terms of who has access to certain doors and who has access to a certain time. And then you know when they come and they go. It tells you that Mr. Beecham was up here at 4:20 in the morning. We don't know why, but he was here, you know.
Up to no good.
But that we're specifying an access control system, and of course that's the same thing that they have at the jail, but it's obviously a different set of locks, different kinds of things. But that keeps you all at least in control. It keeps you in knowledge, and it keeps you the ability to program things and programs out. The sheriff's not here, but you know, as he was saying, the turnover that they've got, the ins and outs, if they don't have some way to program them in, program them. We're also, standard is an interchangeable core, so that you go in, you pull that core out,
Yeah.
you can put another one in. That was another way we looked at, is that what if you all bought 100 interchangeable cores, and you had someone not with enough knowledge to know how to go ahead and repin that core and put it back in there, to, if anybody lost a key. And that still can be done. I don't know, have I confused it more than?
Well, no, but what I was trying to get to was, now, okay, when I get my key down at checking into the hotel, and I go up to the room, is that wired to that door, or is that? Batteries. So it receives the signal to recognize that electronically? So you wouldn't have the wiring?
Yeah, it's just right, it's contained within the lock function itself.
Okay, so it receives a signal when the clerk runs that card downstairs? Is that
No,
correct?
it doesn't receive a signal. It's when it runs the card, your card says this, you works this lock here, because her coding thing says this is lock 422, and on this card it's 422, so it operates the door at 422. And if they've got it set up for the outside doors, which they often do, you'll operate the outside doors, but it doesn't operate 423 or 419.
Okay. But then some of them are master cards that will open up. I just was trying to get to, what I'm saying is, when you lose one of the specialized Corbin Russell keys that has access to more than one door, that's a big investment.
Yes.
And I didn't know if the idea of losing an electronic key that you could terminate it.
Yes, I mean, that's with the access control system, they can terminate it, program in, program out, change the hours, change the people. So it's a good thing, but it's like anything else. It's just like a regular, just hard keys. If you don't have someone that's taking care of it, and I don't know, actually I think it takes care of it around here, but I'm not for sure of that.
No, I'm not either. We realized we had a hole in that system, and especially when we've got multiple systems. We've got some people carry electronic cards, some people only carry keys, some people carry both. Yeah.
And when you've got multiple venues, all the different buildings that you all own and have, you know, if they've been maintained with the same keyway or a control system, or an access control system.
Well, part of what I'm getting at is we've got doors that we were going to refinish downstairs in that area there, but what you're telling me is that Corbin Russell lock is not going to work in that door. Russell, okay.
Yeah, that door down there, I think, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, they're unit locks, which means they
Yes.
cut a chunk out of the
Yes.
edge of the door.
Yes.
Now, you can buy a unit lock, probably buy a unit lock with the same kind of thing, but they are very expensive, and they're handy.
You mean under Corbin Russell?
Well, under any system, a unit lock, under whatever is expensive. You can tell if you've got interchangeable cores. These kind of look like a infinity or sideways figure 8. That way we know that you can put a keyway, a key in, and remove that and put another one in. If you need to change the key.
Well, can those doors be filled, re-poured, re-drilled, or, I mean, is that even?
Sure.
Just turn them over.
Just, well, I guess you basically plug them, then re-drill them, is that, you know?
But would we maybe want to, because of that reason, to just stay electronic there and not put Corbin Ruskin? Because we have so many doors down there that are not going to be able to receive a Corbin Ruskin lock? Over half the doors are not able to be checked, the locks are not able to be changed. Only the new doors are going to be.
New ones.
Only the brand new doors can receive a lock, and you're not already doing the grand jury door.
Yeah, the grand jury is just already is a mag hold there, but the door going from the grand jury to those office spaces is new and has a new lock. But those existing 3 offices and the 1 closet door, we didn't mess with those.
But you know, Resex, someone just happened to be the local dealer.
Yeah.
And they're fine, and they do a good job, but you know, The idea was not to set them up as the sole source. The idea is now to open it up to let other people be able to do it with y'all's permission.
Well, let me get to the crux of the question.
Okay.
Should we not refinish those doors and buy the appropriate new doors that will accept the locking system?
Well, personally, you know, of course, you don't have any labor that you have to deal with, but, you know, if you had to pay for all that refinishing and everything, it would be smarter by far to go ahead and get new doors. And are we putting these doors back in the same frame, or are we putting those doors in the new frame?
No, back in the same frame.
Yeah.
But we're not going to have a
Those are
uniform.
single rabbit.
Now, that system that's down there, we can set it up so it has the different, you know, it's part of the same old system that was here. And I think Bobby knows how to do that, so you have some uniformity in the lock system.
Well, there would be 5 total doors?
4, because you could do the grand jury door off of the corridor, and then you already have the new one off of from grand jury back to that back to that interior corridor.
You've got the interview room and 3 offices back there, plus a closet.
Interview room, yeah, interview room and closet. So you're actually, and I think that closet back there, I don't think that has a key to it, but it's still, yeah, that's 4 doors, 5, 6 doors.
Well, and to expand this discussion, not that it needs to, I think part of this all started because we really have got a hodgepodge deal even in this courthouse. We don't have good room recognition, in other words, a constant numbering system, so we can say 133 is room number 33 on the first floor. We don't really have that. We've got some of that, but not all of it. And we really began to realize how serious this was when we got into a bomb threat several months ago, and all of a sudden security's trying to sweep the building. We don't know who's got the keys for which room or who's in control of that. That's what really got our attention. So we began to talk about wanting to try to standardize something, get us you know, and get a little better organized.
And Mark approached me, a couple months ago or whatever it was to get with Texoma, and so I immediately contacted Texoma and said, we need to start compiling what you do have. What do you have on us? And when Ralph met with Greg the other day. So after Mark and I talked about it, I contacted Texoma. Texoma went through this, or at least was supposed to be going through this process of compiling all the information that they had. Everything and anything that they had on any locks, any doors. But when I spoke with Greg Cox about it, when Ralph was meeting with him last week or week before, he didn't realize that was happening, and he said, let me get on this, and I'll get back to you, because I'm probably going to be better knowledgeable, wise of doing that. So we're working towards having that meeting, and that's not going to be an easy meeting. It's going to be a long walking through the building, and we talked about even over Scott Street as well. So
and that's it. It's not just this building. It's we got the annex.
By name identify offices in this building. We can't by name identify rooms in Tommy's building.
That's right.
Yes. Well, Mark said you come across doors that people had added padlocks to.
Yeah.
Just because that was the way to get around having to deal with keys or talking to somebody about getting a key, or
we have it all under. Yeah, we have a master list, and you need your security guys to have access when you do have some kind of emergency.
Matt,
it should be issued through security.
Yeah, sure. And Matt, what are we talking about changing them doors? How much? Just guess at a door.
$350 a door.
I was going to say plus, yes.
$350.
Yeah.
So it's about $500.
$500. So we're looking at $3,000 to fix the doors down there. Keep making uniform.
Now, those doors that are ready to take the locks are doors you got to.
Well, I have to look at the frames. I think those are single rated frames and
take off
existing
the old
glass
doors
walls.
there and put a door on there that's conducive to that lock.
Okay.
Right.
Just get the door blank.
And it can become pre-board with.
We've already got the locks allocated.
Well, I know a guy that's got a door machine that can match your new door to that.
Yeah.
It's just a frame. I just know a guy.
Yeah.
I know a guy.
I got a guy. But one of the things, with all of this consistency and, all this kind of stuff, if Mark says, I don't want you guys to have access to my office, because I've got my lifelong baseball card collection in there and.
Guitar picks.
Yeah, the guitar picks, his guitar picks. That's what he does, yeah.
But, you know, I don't want you in there, so I'll go down to over to Reese Tech Summer, and I'll buy me a Corbin Russman lock without an F2 keyway, and I'll take my screwdriver and I will change it out now.
On my own.
I'm on my own, I haven't asked permission, and you all don't have access to
You
my.
telling me there is no security?
Well, and Ralph, what if I called today and said, I've lost my Grandmaster key to this court area up here, would y'all cut me one? Will they?
They shouldn't without the judge's approval.
And that's the protocol we have in place?
That was the point, yeah.
And we've done that in the past, but we've had to have people get signed off on.
One of the things we might look at doing, that new area we ought to clean up. As we look at some of the rest of the offices down that hall, and we redo those doors so they look like the other, we could at that time take our current old system, I think, and look at making sure we have the right keying system, and that we have a master for security, not anybody else, to be able to enter Judge Butler's area, to be able to enter Judge Dockery's area, in case we have some kind of a problem. The same thing when we move to the other floors. We can eventually work towards the much more expensive solution, I think, of the Corbin Russman, but, you know, we don't have the money right now to go whole hog into this. And the same thing over in the annex. I think numbering the rooms is real important, and then looking at how should the key system be? Can we do it with the existing of what we have there? And maybe get maintenance away from carrying 20 pounds of keys.
But Judge, we would, we're not ready to do the Butler hallway because we would have to change some paint jobs, facings and things that we had never planned on doing in lieu of changing doors. So, I mean, I'm certainly for changing out the new area where we have those. I did not realize till Matt told me on Thursday that those doors could not receive this lock. And
okay.
So I think we should.
But we could refinish the doors so they look better in that with the rest of that hallway, because we're changing.
Yes, and we can do that all day long, but we.
Yeah, changing the finish, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm saying at that time, look at that current, whatever the Smith door system we have, and see if we've got some uniformity set up in those office suites. And can we do that? Do we have the ability to do that? I think we do, but I don't know that.
Matt, would you give Nancy an agenda item for those doors then? That finishes us off.
Let me
get
with Greg and we'll come look at it. Just make sure that I've got all of our ducks in a row.
Okay.
And what that's going to take to do that.
Okay.
Is it Nancy's to refinish the doors? Is that what?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
The other thing is we need to put the sheriff on hold so they don't go take all those doors down and start trying to refinish them, and then that's not what we're going to do.
Yeah, and Judge, that's why I mentioned that to him. Apparently there's some hold up because of that right now. I mean, they're not able to do those.
Right.
I don't think that's happening straight away.
No, I know it's not, but all of a sudden they get in here. You don't know when that happens.
Well, let me ask you, Matt, there's not a possibility, because this is the way it was in certain areas in Electra Precinct 4 offices, to blank out those, what do you call those doorknobs that are down there that are?
Those unit locks?
Unit locks?
Unit locks. There's no way to blank the unit lock with unit lock blanks and deadbolt the door with the Corbin Russman.
Yeah, I mean,
is that a pain?
basically, you're gonna go, I mean, you'll go in and glue a block of wood in there, and you'll get a stainless steel or aluminum, whatever, U-shape that'll just cover right over both of them and screw it in there so that, and then you can put a deadlock blank in there, or deadlocking.
It wouldn't save you much money then. Just changing the doors. Smarter.
You'd save some, but I mean, it would look like it's been retrofitted to make it work.
I don't want to. The sheriff would probably shoot me.
He's not here.
Oh, okay. Well, then he probably won't shoot me until he finds out about it. That's right.
He's watching.
He's still watching.
Oh,
He's still watching.
Well, you got David Teague down there. That is his business for a number of years was installing doors and hardware, and I mean that was he made a living at that. That was his job. He had a crew that did that.
Who's that?
David Teague.
He oversees the jail maintenance
Yeah.
stuff now.
But there are good people that do that, and it all depends on what criteria you guys establish. I want it done this way, and if I want to give an authorization letter to some other corporate investment dealer, then I'll do that. That's up to y'all.
Okay. Slight change of subject, but I think to be sure we're all the same. We are the furnishings for the office areas. That's going to go out for bid. We're not taking one company and hedging with that right now. We're going to put that out for bid. Is that everybody's understanding? That was my last understanding. But
Yeah, that's my understanding too.
Okay.
Well, I mean, that's not, but it's not something that we were doing in the contract. It was something that you guys were going to look at via buy board or something else.
But
the only ones that are built into it are the built-ins, the ones that are actually physically built into
You
the
can't
project.
turn the building over and it falls out. That's
No, it's for the new area.
The new.
Okay.
The LEC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because right here, we're.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the LEC. I was thinking you were talking about
No,
that.
she said that.
We're basically covered on some of that, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah, down there, I think it was they were just going to use bring down what they have, see then where it works, let
See
it
what
ride
they
for a
need
while
better.
and figure it out.
Is the furniture in the 70 million?
There is a furniture amount.
There is
in
a
the
furniture.
As long as we stay within that budget.
We are going to see.
Yeah.
FYI, we're supposed to be starting with the foundation repair work over at the Juvenile Justice Center today.
Good. Okay, good.
Just wanted to be sure to keep y'all informed.
Anything else for them? Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we may have air conditioning in the aluminum building by 1st of July.
I know they're getting updates every time on the lead time on that stuff,
Yeah.
because what was it, originally 6 weeks, and it went to 8 weeks, and now they got it back down, or?
Yeah.
As soon as the weather cools off.
Yeah, as soon as the weather cools
Yeah.
down.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. See you.
All right. Commissioner Beecham, anything?
I had none.
Commissioner Harvey?
Getting this. Good Saturday.
Did you get rid of all your crawfish?
They were a sack.
Good day for it.
Okay, Commissioner Mahler?
Lots of road work going on. We're running on a pretty short crew, so doing the best we can with what we've got. But once again, it's going to be a busy summer for road and bridge, without a doubt.
Commissioner Watts?
Precinct 4 is trying to get some chip seal done, underway. We've been very busy getting all that to come together, and seem like we've had lots of different issues. I have received some bids, and Lee, the Weddle fella, called me Friday. He's looking today at that. Josh Morgan called me today about changing the trusses and roofs out, replace that C iron that's up there with rectangular tubing that would be stouter and better. So anyway, I'm in the process of getting that together, but that job could potentially be just under 50 grand to fix the carports that are fixing to fall down, or the roof.
How much? How much is it?
Probably just under 50 grand by the time we take off the roofs and put them back on. They just expanded too far with too light of material. And it's amazing that just now did they give it up.
How long are y'all sticking to the schedule that you developed that one afternoon on?
Well, we've had lots of things that move the schedule around, Judge, but I mean, for the most part, we're trying to make that first move ahead of these guys just so we can help them when they're.
Okay. All right. Patterson Leadership Breakfast is June 29th, 7 a.m. If we want to all go to that together, it's $75 a head for that. That's what I want to do. And Shrine Oil Ball game is Saturday, June 16th at 7:30. I've got some tickets for that. I won't be using if anybody wants those. And okay, there's a webinar on the health insurance programs that is on May 31st at 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. and thought we might schedule that as a work session and participate that. I'll be in Galveston, but I can get on that webinar, and if we do it as a meeting, then we can kind of discuss anything there. So y'all look at your calendars and let Nancy know which one of those two are going to work for you all, 10 or 3. But I think I don't know what the scope of it is, but it sounds like it might give us an idea on any changes in healthcare that they're looking at to do. Anything else?
June 16th. Little conflict. Pat Stacy, Lucy Park, 200 people.
Oh, yeah, okay, well, the Old Bowl game, that's 7:30 that night. I mean, that's just, y'all.
We cook at 6.
Oh, you're gonna do it that time?
What is it, Lee?
Foster Parents Board.
Yeah, 200 kids at Lucy Park.
What is that?
That is June the 16th.
I'll go.
Are we going to come back and meet the budget stuff, Judge?
You all tell me. If you want to, we've got it on there. You want to come back at 1:30 and do that?
I can't decide.
I need to go meet with Donna too. Can we just recess? I'll come this afternoon.
Adjourn.
Well, we can adjourn and not do that. I mean, if you had anything particular, Commissioner, or not?
No, I didn't know whether we were going to do that or not. I wanted to finish talking or talk through the insurance portion. Willie, help me just clarify in my mind. $5 million if we wrote a check for health insurance, one lump sum. $5 million for the year. And so when we talk about an increase that could be 10%, we're talking about $500,000. Okay.
Judge,
it was 10%.
These individual meetings we've had with department heads, let me see if I'm on the right page here. I've got notes that I wrote during each one. Do we need to?
Yeah, we need to have some
share those
or about those. Share those. The other thing is if you've collected budgets that haven't been given to Willie to put in everybody's book, and y'all are going to need to take your books, maybe go through there and see what budgets are in. Okay. And if you all got notes, we need to put those with, it's just like when you and I met with the sheriff, and he's only asking for $1.5 million increase in his budget.
He's only asking?
Yeah. I don't know where that's going to come from.
Yeah. Well, none of the ones that I did were real significant, but there were a few questions, a few comments, a couple of personnel deals that they kind of wanted to look at. I was just writing that all out as a narrative, and then I assumed that's what we were going to do, and then we can bring it together. And actually, the process, I think, worked fairly well. If we can bring it together now.
We bring back the information, and then we, to be fair to them, we need to schedule the sessions that we collectively are going to discuss those and set that up so people know. But we need to know y'all are ready to start doing that.
Say anytime in the next few days.
Well, do we have all budgets been turned into Willie? Because I had a pretty long list of not turned in. It was longer than the turned in list.
I have the treasurer's on the desk.
Well, here's where I stand.
large outstanding ones are the precinct budgets, and the commissioners told me that they
We'll get those
in this week.
Yeah.
So, pretty close on having all the requests in now. So I can have probably the requested budget together with probably what we've said on the personnel by the end of this week. If I get all together.
Well, I'd like to have that to take with me, because that's what I.
What you work on.
Gets me out of the shopping trips in the afternoon.
And when are you, is that next week or?
Next week, yeah,
Okay.
I leave Monday.
So if we were gonna do anything, it's gonna be a tough week though.
It looks as if the general fund will come in about 50 million, around 50 million.
You want me to post something on Friday's agenda for a budget work session? I can't post anything else for this meeting.
But if y'all look at your schedule, and because we're gonna get that up. But I would think that might be a good idea, really whatever you have together, we look at.
We have Judge Tyler, 1:30 Friday, isn't it?
That's,
We'd have to do it Friday morning, wouldn't we?
well, we already have a meeting for Friday morning, we could put that.
Yeah, that's what
I guess we could do it right then.
yeah, we have
Yeah.
the Tyler meeting at 1:30.
Okay.
So let's try to do, and if nothing else, we could have working lunch and do that.
And we can start at 9.
Really, how will that work for you?
That's fine.
Okay.
And then
so-
what would we do on that Friday then? What would be the basic layout of the meeting?
Review the
Well,
bills.
I guess you can start doing some comparison and set up scheduling for when the whole court meets with whoever you want to talk to.
Yeah.
And some of them may be, you know, depending on what they come in with, that may not be necessary unless they want a particular meeting with the court.
Yeah, I mean, like Patty's, there's no need to, Patty didn't have anything abnormal or out of line.
You'll have a personnel request, you know, some of them want more leveling and more, well, the sheriff's asking for uniform system, uniform forces to be put on
Step and grudge.
Sure.
a system.
Yeah.
And then you have some additional requests for adding personnel. And then, of course, there's always the capital expenditure list. And the way you want to go on the outside agencies that are requested to step back up to where they were last year.
Yeah, well, I'm saying.
I think we've already kind of
Yeah.
talked about that.
I wouldn't.
In fact, there's some we're probably gonna put on a decreasing plan, leaving solid for this year, but getting a schedule of how that's gonna,
Well, and that's what we discussed,
yeah.
to work that in, because, I mean, the bottom line of the matter is, and I've explained recently to Commissioner Harvey, you know, it's like I receive my paycheck and I have it all allocated to payments of sorts, whether it be house payment, insurance payment, electric bill, pickup payment, and all of it is consumed. And to consider, or to waste any of my time, to consider an additional payment, which I have no revenue to make, it's a waste of time. Because unless some payment goes away, I can't take on a new one. We know that as we stand today, in 6 years or 8, we're going to hit a brick wall in a running 80. So we have no choice but to continue the strain that we felt last year in looking at options. And this was, and in my just 30,000 foot view of insurance, Willie, was to take and eliminate the subsidy, to use that 93,000 that we're spending on subsidy to offset the increase, which we know is coming. Right now, we're at 107% for a 12-month average. So to take that 93, apply it against what's going to be at least $500,000 increase in insurance, bring it down to roughly $400,000, and that increase then would divide by the employees. And the employee cost could be $60, $70 per employee to participate, to leave us at a neutral position for insurance, because all we do, guys, when we're adding to increased cost, we're just changing 8 years of hitting the brick wall to 6. I mean, that's all that's happening. So it's inevitable, because when we hit the brick wall, we will pay 100% of the increase with no help or no thought whatsoever. If we're going to maintain insurance, we will. So,
Jeff, we set out last year to try to stem the bleeding. And our goal was to try to rebuild a little bit of a dwindling, emergency fund, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And we look like we might make a little progress in that direction, but if we turn around and do what we've got laying on the table right now, we've consumed that. All that pain we went through last year, Tommy, you participated in that, it's for nothing if we don't stay the course. And we're right back where we started. And yeah, Jeff, I'm not sure it is an 8-year deal. I think it is more of a 5 or 6 year deal if you look at those costs. That insurance deal is nearly a penny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's serious. Yeah, the situation hasn't changed. We're on a fixed income. Well, that's everybody talking about being on a fixed income. County is on a fixed income.
Well, as I mentioned before, you got to look ahead to the future, and maybe you got to change the way of doing business some way.
I think so. I think that's what we're looking at. Yeah.
Change. I was dreaming last night and said, well, maybe take away the sheriff's law enforcement function and split it among the constables. Let the sheriff run the jail. Maybe that operation is getting too big for one person or one elected official to handle.
Don't have none of those kind of dreams.
Well, and what is going to be the manning at the new jail? That's not too far away.
No, it's not, and we've asked for a briefing on the manning at what we have and why it's, what it is.
But we suspect it's going to be more.
Can't be more.
Can't be.
And what is
it's supposed to be
technology going to do for us except bankrupt us?
Well, at least we're going to count for it.
We'll make a nice spreadsheet.
Well, I think so, really, that we will be able to, with the right consultation after implementation happens, that I think we could make some hard choices then. I mean, I think we could close some doors if we needed to.
Well, I think we're going to have to. I don't think it's an option if you're going to maintain that kind of an expense level. I think you've got to see some savings on the other end, or you can't do that.
Well, and I think we're going to be into the 2020 budget before you can really ascertain
probably so.
The Tyler effect.
Yeah.
And with that, the new financial software, Deb thinks might have some things that would coincide with some retirements in her office that their personnel demand might be less.
Work better. Guys, when I came on this court, 10 years ago, whenever it was, I got to really thinking about this over the weekend. The only debt that this court has was the Lindemann building. We had funds set aside to service it. That was it. We had
we paid off the other.
We had no leases. We did not lease equipment or anything else. So all of this stuff that's been added has been added in short order. And the list is pretty long. There's some big numbers out there.
There's it, but there
Now,
are
I
also
think
some
we-
good payoff dates. too.
There is, Judge, and I'm not saying that totally critical, because I think it's well managed. I'm not saying it's not, but still, it's something you gotta think about, that that's how much the position has changed just in my tenure. And if that is the trend going upward, we have to really take a look, and I think Willie's mentioned this, Judge has mentioned this, we gotta take a look at all these outstanding lease deals and things that are out there, because the list is a lot longer than it used to be.
And one of those items, Willie, that I think that the court has indicated that they want to make sure we do is that whatever that capital expenditure per precinct typically is, that we offset that dollar amount or be cognizant of the dollar amount that goes towards a payment, because that's actually capital purchases that are happening year over year over year. So we want to make sure that if we've been spending $100, but we have $20,000 of payments to make, we only allocate $80,000 for the capital expenditures, and make sure we stay pretty true on that.
Absolutely.
Another thing we talked about Friday some was the constable's mileage allowance. Turned into a nightmare. You know, with the auditing and the spreadsheets you get on that thing, how many hours does the auditor spend on that? And it's an open door for them, because, you know, every time their rear end hits the seat of the car, they're on the clock.
Judge, the one thing that came up on Friday was that we're paying Constable at Precinct 4 to drive from his home to the office. He charges us 23 miles.
He shouldn't be getting that. That's not.
Remember, he's on patrol.
It's not allowable, though, is it?
It's not an allowable expense.
It is if he's patrolling.
And he charges us again to go back.
Yep.
I don't think under the IRS, I don't care whether it's patrolling or what, I don't think this. But the other thing is, we set a cap here. Guys, I don't care how many miles you drive, this is all you're going to get paid for.
But did we do that in this?
Well, we budgeted an amount in there.
That's the cap.
And that's the cap. I told Mark Brewer that he heard all over town about it, how much money he's making off of the mileage thing. I don't care how fast he makes it. When it hits that point, we need to stop it.
It's in January, it's a long year.
We're already paying for patrol. Sheriff has 4 people patrolling 24/7.
You can't use that argument.
Why not?
Because I tried to use that argument that we're already paying for patrol, the cities have patrol, go out into the county.
Okay, I don't care if they can go ride around all they want to. We're not going to pay them to ride around all they want to. You set a budget, you set the limit, and that's it. I learned that from a constable who called me one day because he wasn't serving papers. This is 100 years ago. And he said, well, Gossam, you just don't understand. He said, I already bought a tank of gas, and I ruined a tire this month, and that used up all my allowance. I can't go anywhere.
Bicycle time.
Well, you did have a lot of donkeys. Saddle them up.
But I think the most important part of this whole discussion is that nothing has really changed from a year ago. We made some moves in the right direction, but if we're not careful, we'll erase the whole thing in one session.
The ability to add staff to our existing budget doesn't exist.
The attitude that I have seen is they all want it back this year.
Well, of course.
But that's, for some way we fall short in an explanation that people understand.
We need more tiny smiles. Boy, I would never say that.
I thought I'd never hear you say it, Judge.
Not many more.
Maybe that was what was supposed to be communicated in these one-on-one meetings.
Yeah, hopefully you can walk out there and think they're going to have all of that they asked for.
No.
They cut their budget from last year.
About $250,000.
But the sheriff wants 10 more contingency jailers, more security people. Now I looked at, I said, I don't see it.
Well, there is a proposal to go full security in the annex.
Yeah.
I mean, full scanner, single entrance, just like in the courthouse.
But I don't see how you can control that building.
I don't either, and I don't know how you staff
Well,
it.
unless we kind of do a shadow totaling, you know, you swipe, the way you swipe to get in the building is with your credit card. Maybe that's $1.50, $2, come in to do business.
Did you eat some bad fish over the weekend?
Well, once again,
Well, we can put parking meters out there in that east parking lot and start writing tickets for.
you know, I go back to my earlier statement, all through the bond election that the city just went through, we continue to hear the term fixed income. And that seems to always be the focus, is that there's people on a fixed income, they can't afford this. Guys, the county is on a fixed income. And maybe we haven't explained that very well, but there's no big pool of money out there to go to. And we have not addressed the sheriff's radio system, Judge, which could be $3 million, $1.5 million. I don't know. I've heard numbers all over the board, but he still says that's going to have to be fixed.
I asked him last week to get a plan together, get with Lee, get with me, there's Mr. Tusa, or back with Motorola, but bring us something.
Because, I mean, it's all over the map, but it's big. It's just how big? I mean, it's $1.5 million plus.
$1.5 million to as much as $4 million.
Yeah.
$4 million is not there.
No, we can't do that. And that was a huge.
It was 5.9 the first time.
Yeah, I realize that. That wasn't there either.
But that had that beam me up factor.
Yeah, it did beam me up.
Well, and, you know, everything's important, but you got to choose a level you're going to operate at and operate at that level. That's the deal. I mean, Tommy'd love to reopen all of his branch offices again full-time. I get calls. People want to know. How come we're closed? You understand them? I agree with you. I want them open too. How do you staff them? How do you do it? I agree completely.
So Friday's agenda at 9?
Yeah. And what do y'all think? We'll figure out something about lunch or work through lunch.
But you know, Barry, you talk about a fixed income and Judge's comments last week about our tax base. When we mailed statements last October for the city of Wichita Falls.
You come up to the mic. They can't hear you, folks.
When we mailed statements last October, I think, for the city of Wichita Falls, we just mailed a little south of 45,000 statements for Wichita Falls proper. Now, don't confuse accounts with taxpayers. And we're trying to do some analytics now, trying to figure out just basically how many taxpayers you got, because you got taxpayers in this town, some of them own properties up in triple digits. So in other words, accounts is one thing, taxpayers are another. But nevertheless, we mailed a little south of 45,000 statements from the city of Wichita Falls last year. So in reality, there's a 55% chance to some degree that anybody sitting on either side of you in Wichita Falls on any given day on a park bench or on a city bus, they're not paying taxes. We don't have enough taxpayer density. So you talk about, I mean, there's another way that kind of dovetails off the back end of your deal, Barry. But as far as taxpayer density, look at density per population, your demographics. And I'm thinking those numbers even want to slide back further. Like I said, we're right in the middle now of looking, doing some analytics to figure out how many taxpayers we have. We got to go back through our software, and they're working on it as we speak.
But that's a common statement. But if I'm renting an apartment from you, I'm paying taxes.
Well,
you'd hope.
Okay, if I'm renting a building for you for my office dinner, I am paying taxes. Now, but what you're saying is, and it would be interesting, I think it's an interesting concept you brought up, is how many, if there's 78,000 parcels of property in Wichita County, are they owned by 60,000 people or 30,000?
Exactly.
And that's kind of a, you know, and that has to, so when we hit almost 6 cents on the bond, some people saw, because of their number of parcels owned, a big jump. And our trouble is we need some new tax base. That's what's killing us.
I have 80 counts. One taxpayer, 80 counts.
I've got several, and you know, and we we mentioned this fixed income thing, and in reality, county's on a fixed income in an inflationary spiral. I'm going to say our inflation rate's going to be what, 1.5%, 2% a year. That might be, and that might not be enough, because some areas are worse than others, you know, as far as increased prices. And I'll tell you another thing, guys, just like in our precinct deal right now, it's getting hard to hire help at the level we're at. It's getting tough. It's getting difficult.
It's worse than that. We're in an inflationary spiral. We have a payer that's not willing to open his checkbook. The taxpayers have pretty much spoken like a couple weeks ago.
That's true.
No, we don't.
Said no?
They said no. Yeah.
I do.
We need services, but.
In 1962, and I think I've sent this to y'all before in an email, there's a picture of John Gavin standing on the shoulder of the road doing a road project here. The population sign over John Gavin's shoulder in 1962 is 102,000.
That's right.
The numbers on our signs today in Wichita Falls proper are 104,533. We're 2,500, supposedly 2,500 citizens better off now, 56 years later almost, than we were in 62.
That's so good.
That equates to 44 citizens a year. And then you take and do the math on it, it goes out to 0.04%.
The rest of the state's exploded.
No, not the rest of the state. You only have about 20 counties that are, or 30 counties that are seeing this growth. But the state has pulled back. They're paying 1/2 what they were paying for public education, 1/2 of what they're paying out for higher education. They've closed prisons, they've closed mental health facilities, and guess where everybody is? They're at local government's door. They've cut the money they were doing to subsidize the senior meals programs. We're now making that up.
I tell you, 12 hours of full loaded Midwestern in September 1980. This ain't no lab fees, this ain't no books, this ain't a parking decal, but 12 hours of full loaded Midwestern, I got the receipts. 12 hours of full loaded Midwestern, my freshman semester, $225.
You could actually work part-time and pay that, even at the lower rates.
For a full load.
Well, there are people in the system that expect us to really operate at the effective tax rate. I mean, that's really the goal. Operate at the effective tax rate.
That's been our goal.
That's been our goal.
Sometimes we've gone less than.
You're right. But what they don't understand is they want us to operate on the effective tax rate, but what we're having to operate on really is an affected tax rate, because it's gone up with all the things that come along.
Or how we've been affected by those mental health bills.
That's exactly right.
But that's going to cost us to operate a jail.
Before we do anything else, and the last person that we can serve on the list is the old boy writing the check, paying the taxes. He's the last on the list, because we have to take care of everything, and then if we can build him a road, or we can, you know, do something to provide him a service that makes his life a little better, he's the last one on the list to get that, every time. Unfortunately, but that's what it is.
Okay.
Well, we're preaching to the choir, Judge, but.
All right, we're going to come back Friday morning, 9 o'clock.
We're going to solve this.
All right.
So you're optimistic.
It is 12:24, and we're adjourned.
Ashley Judge is announced she wants to live in the Middle East where women have more rights. Ashley Judge.